A few months ago, I spoke to this group about capoeira. I provided an overview and a history of the Afro-Brazilian martial art of capoeira. For those of you who may not remember, for those of you who weren't here, capoeira is a form of martial art, dance, fight, game, and philosophy. It originated in Brazil. It was developed by African slaves who were brought to Brazil. It's typically played by two people in a circle, surrounded by spectators and musicians. When I spoke to you, I may have mentioned that music is integral to capoeira, and it is. You can't have capoeira without music. You cannot divide them. They are intertwined. The role of music is to provide rhythm for the physical movement. It dictates how fast, if the game is tardigrade, or if it's a fast game, the music will dictate that. The music also has a role in sharing the history and sharing the folklore. It passes on the oral tradition and the oral history of capoeira through the words of the songs that are sung. It also makes a commentary about what's happening perhaps inside of the game between the two players, or something that's happening outside of the game. For example, we were playing in Pritchard Park last year. Two very experienced players were having a pretty beautiful game. A slightly inebriated character came up and started mimicking them. And the woman who was singing was a skilled, beautiful singer, and she quickly changed her song in Portuguese and said something along the lines of, "This drunk old man better watch out, he's going to get a beat down." So it was very humorous. It also let the players know that there was something going on that they should be aware of, that either they could get hurt or the guy coming into the game could get hurt. Another example is that a very tall person could be playing a game, and if they're in danger of falling down, or if they do fall down by chance or accident or on purpose, there's a song that says, "A bananeira caiu, cai, 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 a bananeira caiu," and that means the banana tree fell. So music, as I mentioned, is vitally important. To demonstrate some of the musical elements, I brought a couple instruments. These are pandeiros. We call them tambourines, the pandeiro. This is an agogo. And this is a berimbau. The berimbau is a very simple instrument, but its simplicity should not be overlooked because it's an incredibly complex instrument that has the capacity to develop multiple rhythms and sounds with its very simple components here. Its origin is African. We know that there are various evidence or pieces of evidence from the Congo to South Africa of bowed musical instruments that look like this. There have not been reports of evidence of a similar instrument in indigenous Brazilian culture nor in European cultures. Some researchers think that it developed from a hunting bow, that perhaps in the backcountry folks were hunting with a bow and arrow and perhaps started making musical sounds with it. There's other researchers say that the hunting bow came from the musical instrument. And there's other researchers that say that the two purposes developed independently. Regardless of the exact origins, we know that it is African. It was brought to Brazil. And some accounts say that it was in the marketplaces where African Brazilian vendors would call attention to their wares, and that it was incorporated into the game of capoeira later. There are three kinds of berimbaus that are typically used. This is a medio, it's the medium, sort of like the rhythm guitar. There's a viola, and there's a gunga, which is a larger one. And the gunga is the one that leads the game of capoeira. The instrument has many parts that are found that are just common day components. This is, the wood is called the verga, and it comes from a beriba tree in Brazil. It's very hard to to find here. So folks, when they go to Brazil, they often bring it back so that you can make berimbaus. Here in Asheville, we actually make all the components. When we can get beriba, we'll make them. This is the arame, the wire. This originally had different origins, but now in Brazil and here in the United States, we find this arame by taking out the inside wire from an automobile tire, and then we use it here. This is a gourd. This is the boca. We call it the cavassa. This is a dobrao. This is often a stone, just something that you could find. This is a vaqueta. And the caxixe is unique to the berimbau. So there's a lot of sounds that are coming out of this very simple instrument. And the toque is, again, it's basically the open sound, the closed sound, and the scratching sound. There are multiple rhythms, and one of the unique rhythms that I learned about is called the cavalleria. That's not the cavalleria, but the cavalleria was used when capoeira was illegal and people were playing it in the streets of Brazil. They would play this rhythm when the police on horseback were coming near, and they would play the cavalleria rhythm so that the people playing capoeira could quickly change their dance and start to do samba or something different and disguise the game of capoeira. Capoeira is rich in tradition in malicia, which is the term for trickery, and this is the lead instrument that guides the game, the trickery, and the philosophy of capoeira. Thank you.